Pleich?
Yeah.
Who is Steve Pleich?
Yeah, who is he anyway? Hi, I'm Steve Pleich. Welcome to this edition of BTS Presents. When I'm out in the community doing my organizing various events, I sometimes have people say, who is Steve Pleich? And it actually put me in mind of how I would define myself. And I think the way that I would define myself is by the events that I've been involved with that have really built community around Santa Cruz. And I'll tell you a couple of stories. In 2010, in October, I was riding the bus. I'm a bus rider. I've been riding the bus for about 3 years. A woman that I had done some volunteer work over the years sat down next to me and says, I just read in the Sentinel is the veterans can't do their Thanksgiving dinner this year because they're retrofitting the vessel. They red tagged it because they had some seismic problems over there. She said, you have to do something about that. You're a community organizer. You have to do something about that. I said, okay, I'll do what I can. So I get off the bus, I go over to City Hall, and I see Mike Rotkin, who was then the mayor.
There's a sense of like life is worth living to be enjoyed, not just to like make more money or get to the top of some pile or something. And that's what inspires me about California. And then if that's true about California, that's true about Santa Cruz in spades. It's a place that just completely, where people really enjoy the ocean, being outdoors, being other people, community. It's not all about working your job all day and then coming home and being so exhausted all you can do is watch TV.
And I said, Mike, is that offer from the city to give the Thanksgiving dinner, the Civic, for free, still open this year? And he said, yeah, it is. So I said, okay, that's one piece. So I happened to be doing a radio show that night, and one of the call-in people was Bob Patton, who is the president of the United Veterans Council. I said, Bob, I understand that you can't do your Thanksgiving dinner this year. You sure that there's nothing that we can do to help you, maybe get it going? He says, no, we can't do it. It's October. It usually takes 3 months to get it going. I said, well, if you don't mind, Bob, why don't you let me go around town and see if I can find some folks, and maybe we can get this together. So that set me off on a journey with a little teeny one of these candy bar phones they had. And I started calling people that I knew who were executive chefs and people who were meal planners and people who worked for the city, and we got a group together. Peter McGettigan from Community TV was actually our veterans liaison. Don Lane on the council at that time and former mayor, still on the council, was a part of that. Monica Martinez, Megan Carlson from the Homeless Services Center. So we all got together and started planning for this meal. And the key to that was Dennis Adams, Pastor Dennis Adams from the Acts of Love Foundation. He planned the whole meal. He got the in-kind contributions we needed to actually put it on. His son, as executive chef, came in and helped us do all the prep work. And then we got Fred Keeley on board. Fred Keeley came in, and we needed to raise about $6,500. And Fred says, well, how much money do you have? I said, well, we raised about $3,000. He said, okay. He comes back 3 days later, he has the rest. So that's the kind of community involvement there where it just sprang up out of people's goodwill and generosity. And within 28 days, we had planned a meal that we served at the Civic Auditorium for 1,500 homeless people. And we had 400 volunteers from the community in, guiding and serving and sitting with the homeless community. The Civic was set with 35 tables, with servings for about 35 on each table, with placemats and place settings, and the meals were served to the homeless community, to the people. We had people in the front door of the Civic welcoming people in, saying, welcome to our home, welcome to us. And it was the first, what they call the Santa Cruz Community Thanksgiving Dinner that we put on. We subsequently put on one again the following year. But that did more to make me understand and realize what I could do for the community just through organizing people, just through talking to people and saying, we can do this. Let's try to make a better situation out of what we have here and just put some effort into it and see what we can do. And I really am happy to say at the end of this wonderful photo group here is that the pictures you see here of us preparing the meal at Santa Cruz Bible Church and their full commercial kitchen. You'll be able to see that and enjoy that again this year. They've invited us back, and even though the meal will be served at the Veterans Hall, we will be preparing a lot of the meal at not only the Santa Cruz Bible Church, as I say, but also Front Street Kitchen. And so many of the same volunteers who have been joining us in the years from 2010 through 2013, we're hoping they'll be able to join us again this year in 2014 as we celebrate not only helping our friends in reduced circumstances, but also welcoming the Vets Hall back into our community as a venue that will continue to be a signature venue for people who need help, for people who need some encouragement, for people really who need some support in the community. And that's what we're all about in terms of community outreach. Santa Cruz is really such a wonderfully generous and kind community, and sometimes they just need to be reminded of this. And in this instance, they responded in a way that really amazed us all. It was a wonderful experience. And that's really one of the first opportunities that I had to kind of define myself as a member of the community who was really able to kind of reach out and touch a lot of the other people in the community and help us really do more for the community. The Civic Auditorium, as everyone knows, is really the signature venue in Santa Cruz. You can see from these photos the people gathered out front getting ready to enjoy really a gourmet meal. You see the servers here, the people who came out from the community to serve this meal to those of their friends and neighbors in reduced circumstances. And that's one of the things that I remember most about our 4 wonderful years at the Civic Center was hosting meals that really involve the community at large. People coming over from their own meals at home to spend a couple hours with us, to serve, to bus the tables, to stop and sit with the homeless folks and kind of talk with them and enjoy their, talking about their challenges, what they face day to day. And at least for one day, they can sit down and be served by a community that oftentimes doesn't really serve them well. And that's one of the things that we endeavored to do as much as possible, is to make sure that the homeless community, at least for this day and as so far as we can every day, to make sure that they are included in our community, included in the generosity that is our community, including in the holidays and celebrations that are part of our community, and included in all the things that we believe make us a better community. And anytime we get an opportunity to do that and to be involved with our friends and neighbors, we're delighted to do so, and we hope we'll be able to continue to do that for many, many, many years to come. For me, this is what really signifies what I believe is my place in the community, and I would really enjoy doing it for as many years as possible. Also in that year, when I was running for City Council in 2010, I did a radio show, Sleepy John's radio show up at KZSC, and on the show was Kevin Moon. Now, Kevin Moon ran for City Council in 2010 when I did. We were on this radio show together, and we found as we were talking that we really had much more in common about what we loved about the city, what we thought we could do for the city, what our vision was for the city, much more in common than we had in the way of differences. So Kevin and I, during that campaign, actually became very good friends. And we were talking during that campaign, and I told Kevin, I said, presuming we're not elected to City Council, do you have any programs or projects that you'd really like to pursue that maybe we could pursue together? And he said, I grew up swimming in Harvey West Pool. And my family swam there, and everybody I know in my neighborhood swam there. And now the city has closed that, and at that time the pool had been closed since November of 2008. So I said, Kevin, again, presuming we're not sitting on City Council and we might not have time to pursue this project, let's get together after the campaign and let's see what we can do to open this pool up. So neither one of us, regrettably, were elected to City Council. But in December of that year, so I called up, I said, Kevin, are you ready to go forward with this Harvey West Pool project? He said, yeah. So he and I got together and we got Jim Booth on board. Now, anybody who knows anything about swim schools in Santa Cruz County, knows that Jim Booth has been running swim schools for 35 years. He is the guy. So we got Jim Booth on board, developed a plan and a proposal, and took that to City Council, presented to City Council. We said, if we raise $30,000, will you give us the right to run the pool, operate the pool, staff it, to get the volunteers, and open it? And they said, sure. That year we couldn't get it open, but the following year, We were able to use that $10,000 with some money that the city found, and Harvey West Pool was open for 6 weeks that summer. And this summer, we're talking about 2013, it's open for 8 weeks, I think, and Jim has plans to have it open at some point for the entire year. So that's the kind of thing that you can do as a community organizer if you get people who have the skills, have the desire, have the organizational ability to really put something together. And that's another thing that defined what I think is my role, who is Steve Pleich, in Santa Cruz. There are so many things that we were talking about in terms of community organizing and events in Santa Cruz. Gosh, you can go to an event or 3 or 4 every night. But certainly some of the video that will show exemplifies, some of the things that happen and go on in our community all the time. The third story that I'll tell you is that while I wasn't running for city council, this was during the early 2011, Tony Madrigal, who happened to be on the council at that time, approached me. He said, "I hear you're a community organizer." And I said, "Well, I've tried to do my part." He said, "I want you to be on board the coordinating committee for the Festival del Nopal." At that time, the Festival del Nopal had been put on in November of all times and had not been very successful, the first one. The second one, we got together, got a coordinating committee that worked very hard, very diligently, and we put it on in July of 2011, the second annual, and it drew maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people. In 2012, we worked a little harder. We drew about 7,000 people. In 2013, we put it on again this year, and it was wildly successful. And what this event really does is it raises money for minority scholarships and awards and grants. We give money to Beach Flats Community Center. We give money to La Mujeres, Defensa La Mujeres, Women's Crisis Support. And the more money we raise, the more money that we can give away. And that was another example of being defined as someone who is out in the community and is able to maybe galvanize some support for something, be able to get enough interest in a project, or be able to put the right people together to make something happen. Let's go to another video.
Nopales de mi pueblo, en Santa Cruz, we like it. Nopales de mi pueblo, en Santa Cruz. Oh, I'll take my time, cause I know what I'll find. La Morena Mama at Fiesta tonight. Her fruit is the wine from La Tuna Nopal. Nopales muy rico, all the time. ¡Qué rico! Nopales de mi pueblo, en Santa Cruz, we like it. Nopales de mi pueblo, en Santa Cruz. Tortillas so fresh, frijolitos to boot. La Morena Mama serving sopa tonight. La fruta tuna, sweet from the vine. Nopales muy rico, all the time. pueblo in Santa Cruz. Well, I'll take my time, cause I know what I'll find. La Morena Mama at fiesta tonight. Her fruit is the wine from La Tuna Nopales. Nopales, Puerto Rico, all the time.
And I think when you get a reputation in any community for somebody who can make something happen, you get more opportunities to do that. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And one of those opportunities has resulted in my being affiliated with community TV. And I've had an opportunity, I've had the privilege really, to have spoken out for community TV at City Council and Board of Supervisors, to be involved in their fundraisers, things like that. But they in turn, through my association with Charlie Phillips and Craig and Peter McGettigan and Brian Schulman, who is the producer of this show, they've given me the opportunity to use this format and forum to really raise awareness about any number of different things, from suicide prevention, which I have been involved for about 5 years, to Save Our Shores, which I've also been involved with for 3 or 4 years. But community TV really, as they have revisioned themselves and as they're in the process of changing over some of the things that they're doing and some of the ways that they're doing, I myself found that as a model, as a way of looking at myself and saying, you know, I can change the way that I do things. I can change the way that I define myself. I can change the ways in which I am more efficient at the things that I love to do. And community TV has really shown me that if you have the desire to really be a community member who is productive, who is wanting to make this a better Santa Cruz, I have a Facebook page that I started called Citizens for a Better Santa Cruz. Kind of a stiff name, but nevertheless, it is a place for people to come and talk about what they think are the important issues in Santa Cruz. And right now, if you go to that Facebook page, you can see people talking about whether or not we should be according homeless people basic dignity, to have bathrooms so they'll be able to relieve themselves when they need to, you know, rather than having to troop around and find some place in a bush or something like that. There gets so much criticism from the community simply because we're not according them that basic dignity. If you go on that page, you'll also see some discussions about needle exchange. I was one of the founders of our local needle exchange, our volunteer needle exchange, which is now run by the county. And I think it's important to talk about needle exchange not as a public safety issue, but as a public health issue. And so you always get the opportunity on this kind of social media, this immediately interactive discussion group, to come on there and talk about what you think makes Santa Cruz a better community. And as I again define myself through my work and my organizational projects as a community member and try to make it a better Santa Cruz, so also do the people that we talk to on this Facebook page. It's remarkable that you get so many people spending time to not just say, oh yeah, you know, I don't agree with that and you're wrong to say that. That's not what you get. What you get are long, thoughtful, passionate, reflective, and respectful comments that specifically address the issue at hand. And I was never much of a social media person until this last year or so, although I have had websites for my various political campaigns and things of that nature. But I've learned a lot through social media. And I've learned the value of being able to talk to somebody, exchange an idea immediately, in real time. And I think it's made me a better organizer in the community because it's enabled me to refine my thought process, be able to refine how I present an issue. It's how I focus on an issue, how I can be more persuasive on an issue to maybe, as I say, galvanize support for a particular project and move it forward. I think I am more than anything a homeless advocate. I have come to understand the difficulties and challenges that our homeless community faces every day. They are incomprehensible to most folks, and I will admit to myself that I don't fully understand the privation and the problems that they experience. They are daily demonized, they are daily shunned, they are daily treated as if they are not members of this community, and I will hasten to add that 67% of all the homeless folks in our city tonight were residents of Santa Cruz, the city of Santa Cruz, before they ever became homeless. These are our friends and neighbors. So I think that's important to keep in mind. So in furtherance of that, and maybe the latest expression of what I believe my definition of myself is, and my community organizing is, that we are in the process of developing a homeless jobs program, a large, ambitious homeless jobs program, which we believe will be able to give the homeless folks who would like to reskill and retrain and get back in the job market the opportunity to do so whilst putting a little money in their pocket. But again, it goes back to what we're talking about in terms of according people basic dignity. And maybe my good friend David Sweet, whose show Human Rights Here and Now runs on community TV, and I was fortunate enough to host that at one time. He believes in human rights. He believes that Santa Cruz County should be entirely a human rights county. And I think anybody who believes that can't be anything but an advocate for the less fortunate. So that really is who Steve Pleich is, I think. And I know that it's an evolving definition. I know that I'm an organic process, and I think that I will move forward and be able to make myself a better citizen, make it a better Santa Cruz as I move forward. But certainly, anybody who's interested in any one of these different projects that I'm involved with can contact me by my email at spleich@gmail.com. Certainly, feel free to friend us at Citizens for a Better Santa Cruz on Facebook. These are things that you can do to get involved with your community. Believe me when I say that Santa Cruz needs the involvement of good people now more than ever. And I'm happy to be able to say that I'm trying to make myself a better person every day. And perhaps at some point I will be the person that I would really like to be. And Santa Cruz will be the place that we all would like it to be as well. Really, thank you for watching this edition of BTS Presents. Brian Schulman has become a real friend to me in many of the things that I am doing around town, not simply my involvement with community TV. Brian has done great things and continues to do great things with the show, and I'm very happy to have been a part of it. Thank you to Brian, and thanks for all of you for watching.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Community Television thanks Hoffman's Bistro for their support. Hoffman's is located at 1102 Pacific Avenue in beautiful downtown Santa Cruz and is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week starting at 8 a.m. They feature live local jazz bands starting every night at 6:30. Hoffman's Bakery makes everything in-house from Ed Hoffman's famous scones to decadent wedding cakes. For more information, visit hoffmansantacruz.com or phone 420-0135.
As I say, I've had my retirement already. Now it's time for me to work. And so the next 30 years or so of my life, if I'm given that much time or more, will be entirely devoted every day. I work 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. I never take a day off because it's time for me to work. It's time for me to improve the world, and I'm starting with this part of the world now. Well, I've been a volunteer for suicide prevention, worked in the crisis call line for about 5 years. Before that, I worked the domestic violence victims hotline for the Walnut Avenue Women's Center. I am founder of a local needle exchange here, which is now run by the county. I'm the director of the Homeless Persons Legal Assistance Project. I've been a sanctuary steward for Save Our Shores for about 5 years. I'm the vice chair of the Santa Cruz County ACLU. I'm on the steering committee for the Santa Cruz County Coalition to Overcome Racism. I'm a member of the United Nations Association. Let's see, what else have I done? I ran for city council in 2010, 2012, unsuccessfully, but hopefully next year will be a different story.
If you enjoyed this program, you can support community television with a generous contribution. Send your tax-deductible donation to CTV, 816 Pacific Avenue, Santa Cruz, California, 95060. You can also support CTV by giving a donation online at www.communitytv.org. Then press the donate key.
The mission statement of Santa Cruz Community Television is to foster community dialogue and individual self-expression through television, the internet, and other electronic media. The values of Santa Cruz Community Television are to promote free speech, foster diverse points of view, recognize community diversity, help people find their own voice, emphasize community, encourage communications, create opportunities, expand educational access, promote participatory democracy, provide public interest programming, promote viewership, and encourage artistic expression. Now for today's social media message. This one came from Viva on Facebook in New York from William Bootsy Collins Photos. A well-known speaker started off his seminar holding up a $20 bill. In the room of 200, he asked, "Who would like this $20 bill?" Hands started going up. He said, "I'm going to give this $20 to one of you, but first let me do this." He proceeded to crumple up the $20 bill. He then asked, "Who still wants it?" Still the hands were up in the air. "Well," he replied, "what if I do this?" And he dropped it on the ground and he started to grind it into the floor with his shoe. And he picked it up, now crumpled and dirty. "Now who still wants it?" Still the hands went into the air. My friends, we have all learned a very valuable lesson. No matter what I did to this money, you still wanted it because it did not decrease in value. It was still worth $20. Many times in our lives, we are dropped, crumpled, and ground into the dirt by the decisions we make and the circumstances that come our way. We may feel as though we are worthless, but no matter what has happened or what will happen, you will never lose your value. Dirty or clean, crumpled or finely creased, you are still priceless to those who do love you. The worth of your lives comes not in what we do or who we know, but by who we are. You are special. Don't ever forget it. Count your blessings, not your problems.